In my top 5 Super Nintendo games episode, I said that I wanted to traverse through my console journey over the years and pick out the 5 games of each generation I hold nearest to my heart. This week I've decided to continue with that thought process and deliver what I feel to be the top 5 games that define my PlayStation 1 experience. Full disclosure, this list is probably different than yours, and if you don't like it, then you can go suck a lemon. There were so many good games on this system that my list couldn't contain them all, so I did make some concessions and included games you may not have heard of, and that I highly encourage you to try. This way you're not hearing some nerdy middle-class white guy talk about Final Fantasy VII for eons. If you want that, then go watch everyone else's video. I feel this list truly showcases who I was during this era as an awkward junior high student trying to forge an identity. Junior high was a rough time for me, as it generally was for most everybody. Luckily, Sony bailed me out of a lot of pain and gave me the comfort I needed to survive my early teens. On with the list. Number 5, Koudelka. This game was different. At the height of Resident Evil and Silent Hill's popularity, Koudelka floated to the surface and attempted to do something new to the survival horror genre in order to ensure it wouldn't be labeled as a Resident Evil clone. Silent Hill was successful in mimicking its zombie-loving older brother by changing tone, setting, and atmosphere. Koudelka set itself apart in gameplay. Koudelka was classified as a survivor horror RPG. Yep. Although both genres are at odds of the gameplay spectrum, one withholding resources in order to create tension, and the other rewarding you for amassing massive amounts of resources, Koudelka fell in the middle and pulled it off well. With a unique combat system that had elements of chess, a level-up system that encouraged only minimal grinding due to dwindling supplies, and a cinematic approach that took the game 4 discs to carry, Koudelka is one of those unsung heroes of the PS1 era. But it earns a place in my heart, and on this list. Number 4. Thousand Arms. Speaking of different, back in the day, romance in video games was nearly unheard of, but Atlas decided to give Red Company a chance and published what I believe is the first RPG with dating sim elements to hit the Western market, Thousand Arms. The game tells the story of Mice, a sort of lecherous young blacksmith who finds himself at odds with the Dark Acolytes when they attack his home. Mice is kind of stubborn and annoying, but he had his charm. And with a streamlined battle system that only ever involves 2 party members and a fun, although slightly embarrassing dating system that is used to power up spells, plus a stylized anime aesthetic, Thousand Arms was a lighthearted epic adventure, the way Grandio was, and not a depressing soap opera like Final Fantasy VII and VIII. I have a bit of a soft spot for this title, as I was very socially awkward around girls and felt a certain comfort from making them happy in the game. Not my proudest moment, but one that I don't deny about myself and am glad I experienced. Number 3, Parasite Eve. Everyone has a Christmas tradition, whether it's roasting chestnuts on an open fire, who does that anymore anyway? Or singing carols with friends and family, or watching Christmas movies like Christmas Carol, Miracle on 34th Street, Nightmare Before Christmas, or Die Hard. My Christmas tradition is Parasite Eve. Taking place from December 24th to December 29th, 1997, Parasite Eve tells the story of a New York cop whose life is forever changed by the mitochondria evolving inside her, and the power within that is wakened in an opera at Carnegie Hall. I feel this is probably the best game Squaresoft made on the PS1, and that's saying a lot. Squaresoft owned the original PlayStation with 4 amazing Final Fantasies, Brave Fencer Musashi, Vagrant Story, Xenogears, and more. Parasite Eve has always been my favorite because of the intellectual depth it carried and the heavy M rating it bore proudly. Vulgar monster transformations, spontaneous combustion, melting, and visceral horror made me squeal when I was 13. Plus, the story had depth and a science fiction that felt almost possible, at least when I was in junior high. I still try to beat the game every year at Christmas, even going so far as to play at the exact same chronological order, playing day 1 on Christmas Eve, and going from there. Number 2, Harvest Moon, Back to Nature. After all my friends graduated to Nintendo 64, I was left behind with a Super Nintendo. In 1997, Natsume had one final hurrah on the dying system in the form of the original Harvest Moon. I remember when I rented that game how weird I thought it was to play a game as a farmer, but I gave it a chance, and 1 week's allowance later, I was hooked. Fast forward to the turn of the millennium, I was having no luck finding the girl of my dreams, and Nintendo 64 was boasting what was to be the best Harvest Moon to date. I was crushed. I had left Nintendo solely because Final Fantasy VII was not coming out for, and now this? Well, luckily there was solace. At the same time, Natsume had cooked up what I feel to be the pinnacle of Harvest Moon, with Back to Nature. The game had just the right pacing and complexity to make it addictive as a saga for candy. I would spend nights just sitting in my room playing Prozac on repeat. Yeah, I'm that cool. And finding a way to make the pink-haired girl next door fall in love with me. I haven't loved another Harvest Moon nearly as much since then, and I doubt I ever will. For those that want to know, yes, Friends of Mineral Town is the exact same map layout, but Back to Nature came first. And of course, number 1, Persona 2, Eternal Punishment. Don't underestimate me, you fucking bastard! The first time I heard those words, I knew I was onto something. I thought to myself, did she just swear? Sure, it was bleeped out, but Ulala from Persona 2 just swore at the monster. Yeah, I had heard swearing in games before, like Barrett saying hell and SHI''T, but the F word? Can games be this dark? Does that guy have a katana and a paper bag over his head? Am I talking to demons? This game is messed up, and I love it. It's no surprise that a Shin Megami Tensei title is the top of my list. Spoiler, it might be on the top of my PS2 list as well. But you have to understand that it was because of Persona 2 Eternal Punishment that I became such a fan of the series. I had played the first one, known then as Revelations Persona, and I was a little underwhelmed. So when I saw the sequel on the shelves of Blockbuster, I was skeptical. But I gave it a chance, and man, did it pay off. That's the thing about niche games like this. They need people to give them a chance. They need someone to just look at it, then look at Call of Duty and say, damn it, I want to try something new. I met this guy at my local video game store who was picking up a couple niche RPGs for his Vita, and he didn't look the type. He looked like he enjoyed shooting things and ripping people's intestines out, but he told me that he was always open to new things, and I admired that about him. Too many times we sit content in our comfort zone, but if we never expand our horizons, push the limits even just a little bit, our lives will grow stale. I don't want that for myself, and neither should you. Persona 2 Eternal Punishment is more than just a game for me. It was a turning point in my teenage years, one that opened up my mind and dared me to think outside the box. Well, thanks again for watching. Let me know how you feel about my choices in the comments below, or feel free to tell me your own stories of gaming. I'd love to hear from you. As always, please like and subscribe, check out my other videos, and remember, next time somebody takes your picture, say Fuzzy Pickles.